In this video, we're going to focus on how you can create a diagonal waterfall chart like this here and showing the numbers here nicely on top where we can calculate the difference. So to do this, what we need is first our border template, which you can find here on chartjs3.com getting started, this specific link here, and then scroll down and copy this chunk of code and you're good to go. Next, if you want to get the source code of this video and many others, check out my Patreon page and of course join the Discord channel. So all these links are in the description box. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start working with creating a plugin, but to do this I want to have some space here. So I'm going to say comma, we'll say here grace, and then we're going to say here one tick, there we are, that looks nice. Comma, and then we're going to say here plugins, because we're going to create a custom plugin to draw the item. I'll call this our waterfall line. And what we're going to do here is create this specific plugin. So as a constant, and let's just grab this, put it in there, equals ID. We'll say this will be that, and then we're going to say here the waterfall line should have after. So say after the data sets has been drawn, we will draw this item, chart arcs plugins. So once we did this, constant equals chart, and then what we're going to do here is we're going to say ctx, and what do we need more? I'm not sure if we need the data, but we might need the scales. So x and y, there we are. So once we have this, what I want to do here is the first thing is say ctx.save to save all variables above, and now what I want to do is the next thing. I want to create a line from this point to here. To do that, I need to understand what is, let me just remove the tooltip because it is being distracting. Plugins, and I'm going to say a tooltip enabled equals false. Save. There we are. So what I want to do is I want to be on this point here, going to here, and then every time we have another point connecting one to the other. So to do that, I need to know exactly what is the pixel coordinate of this item. Luckily, it's quite easy to figure out because Chart.js has some built-in information to grab that stuff. So what I'm going to do here, let's do here a chart.getDataSet meta index 0.data, and let's save that, refresh, open up the developer tab. And as you can see here, let's reduce this a little bit like that so we can get the full screen. There we are. So now what I want to do here is open up the array, and you can see here the array gives us the x and y coordinates, which are very important later on. But we also need to know here the width, and the width is 69 plus plus, which is basically the width in pixels from this point to that point here. That information we are going to use. So we're going to use as well the x and y details, but let's grab first the width. So what I'm going to say, what I'm going to do here, and remember, because I'm assuming that all the bars have the identical width, this here is identical for every bar data point. As you can see here, 69 plus plus, and if I go here as well, 69 plus plus. So what I can say here is constant width equals this, index 0 and dot width. However, if we're going to put in the x coordinate here, it is exactly in the center. So that will mean that whatever the width is, 50% here and 50% to the other side. So both sides can be calculated, but we need to divide the width by 2 and get the x coordinate and then plus a half the width or plus or deduction half the width. So what I'm going to do here, we're going to say here, well, what we can do here is let's start to draw something first. So I'm going to say ctx dot, and then I'm going to say here begin path to draw a custom shape. Then what I want to do here is say let's see here, do we do the constant? Not really. We can just say ctx dot move to, which will be the starting point. And I guess we can just already create the x and y coordinates in here. So I'm going to say here, this will be, let's call this our x point or x0 for now, because I know this will be eventually important. Let's call it like that. And this one I'll just call it our y0. We're not allowed to use x and y because we have here these values as constants of object destructuring. Or else we'll get an error because you cannot assign a constant twice. So in here we should have the x and y coordinates. So what I'm going to do is just this and copy that. Once I did that, I'm going to say ctx.line2 to draw the line. And when we draw the line, I'm just going to say very simple. I'm going to do the same line, same position, but I'm just going to say here the width. And let me just divide this by 2. I need to have the half of it. I'm going to say here plus half of width. That's basically what we're doing here. And I'm going to say here ctx dot stroke to draw that specific line. And as you can see here, we're getting something, but this is of course not what I want. And I realize that I'm putting the width on the y, and that is not allowed. Why? It should be on the x. And the reason for this is we're going to go more to the right side. So if I do this, there we are. Alright, so far you understand this logic. So we could probably do now the following, just to make sure that it's clear. And this should be then basically y number 1, where we have x1, or sorry, that will be x, and this will be number 1. And we're going to get here the y number 1 as well, which is the item here, but then for the x. So if I do this, then we can say here, this will be y1, save, refresh. And as you can see here, I need to make sure we go in here. So we can do here minus the width, save, refresh, there we are. So basically we already have this. Now we need to create for this data. Let's simplify this data, and then we're going to make a for each loop. To do a for each loop, I need to know the length of how many data points we have. Since we have here 6, so I'm going to use an array method. And the array method will be based on this. So I'm going to say a constant length equals this length, but I want to do minus 1. So we have that, and then we can do here our for each loop. So we say for, or not for each, but a for loop. I equals 0, and then we're going to say here, we're going to say I will be reiterated. We keep on looping through it as long as the length is smaller or larger than I. Then we say I plus plus to add that up. Once we did this, I'm going to cut out this, put it in there. And then we can say here, and then you can see this should be also nicely in here. There we are. Then I'm going to say here, this will be the I, this will be I, this will be I plus 1. And this is I plus 1. Then if I save this, refresh, there we are. So now basically we've done one part. So what I want to do the next is basically calculate the text. So what I want to do here is have the text, but I want to make sure the text up here a little bit. So we need to always make sure we get the highest y point here to make sure it's put in there. So let's first put in the text. From there on we can continue on. So what I'm going to say here is say ctx.font, and then we're going to say here, this is bold, 12 pixels, and then we say sans serif, which is the standard font size that we use, and then ctx.fill style. I'm going to use later a trick here that we can color it red or green depending on if we have growth or decline. For now, I'll just say, what I will do is I'll make a constant, and then we can say here maybe growth. For the constant growth, there we are. And for the growth, we will just check is y larger, or y0 larger than y1, or smaller, one or the other. So then if we have like that, then we can just say here growth. Maybe we can just immediately do the function, I guess. Say if this is true, we'll make it green. If y1 is smaller than y0, which is basically meaning that if this bar is higher than this, then we have decline. But if this one is smaller than that, we have increase or growth. So we're going to say this, alright. And once we did that, what we want to do here now is draw the text. So ctx.fill text. And for the fill text, we need to calculate. For now, I'm just going to say here a value of 10. Now we're going to get here the x coordinate because we want to be here, basically in this center point here. This here is basically considered index or value of 1 or 0, 0, 1, 2, etc, etc. This here is 0.5. So if it's 1.5 would be this, 2.5, etc, etc. So we're going to use that logic. So first of all, we need the x and the y value. And the x value we're going to grab here is, I'm just going to say x.getPixel for the value, and the value is 0.5 plus I. Then we're going to say here for the y value, for now, we need to check later on which one would be the highest value, but for now I'm just going to say y0. We're going to solve that later on. There we are, and as you can see here, we're getting close, but of course, we need to make sure we reposition this in the center. Let's do that first. We're going to say here, ctx.text align equals center, save, refresh. There we are. Now what I want to do is I want to push this up. To push that up, I need to have the logic of knowing which one is higher. So far we have here the growth, yes or no. But what I can do here as well, I'll just make that simple. We say here just constant y high, the highest y point. And what we're going to do here is, to do this, I'm going to use the logic around it. So pay attention here. Because in a canvas, the higher you are, you're the closer to 0. Up is 0, down would be whatever the pixel amount is. In this case, I think it's 350 in height, so we can go down all the way to 350 here, but up here is 0. So once you understand that logic, we can just recalculate that. So we're going to say here, math.min, I need the lowest value in pixel. And lowest value will be based on the value y0 or y1. Whatever their pixel value is, the lowest one should be extracted. So once we got that, we can just say y high. We can put it in here. Save, refresh. There we are. Now what I want to do is I want to push it a little bit more higher, so we have some more space or breathing space in this area. So we can say here for the high, let's deduct another 10 pixels, so we're pushing it higher. 10 pixels higher. There we are. That looks nice. Now what I want to do here is, of course, get the exact value. So to get that value, I need to know the following. I need to know what is the difference. So I can say here constant difference. And the difference will be, we're going to say here, I'm going to use the built-in functionality, y get value for the pixel of y0. These here are still pixel values. I want to convert them into the scale value of whatever they are. And then we can say here minus y1. Once we did that, we're going to say this difference will be put in here. Save, refresh. Alright, there you are. As you can see here, it's starting to calculate nicely because of the effect we have here. But we have far too many digits. Let's correct that as well. We say here dot to fixed to maybe 1 digit. There we are. I think we're done now, and that's it. So let's put the tooltip back. Save, refresh, and now we have a working tooltip, and we have the differences showing here as well. Oh, hold on. Before I see here something is wrong, our value here is not calculating accordingly. So let's fix that again. Difference. Where is our difference? I think we can probably deduct. Maybe just deduct it in the opposite direction. Like that. So this should be negative. Alright, that is correct. You can see here the color coding is also off. So if there's growth, and it's true, it should be green. So that will mean that normally this would be correct. But anyway, doesn't matter now. I'm just going to make it like that. So if this is larger than that, we get it green. Alright, so that looks fine, and now it is working.